Hey, Composer Gloves here, and this is the 6th Sounds Like, and today I'm going to show you how to make this sound. So it's a very useful sound. I actually have a track here using it as a layer. It is the track from the previous Sounds Like video. I'm going to play the whole thing, but just so you know, it is about 2 minutes long. So if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, skip about 2 minutes ahead. Here we go. So yeah, that is the track. I'm thinking of calling it Arrival. And it still has some work obviously to do. I may not even finish it, but I kind of wanted to see where the idea would go, so I continued. I have some weird mixing things going on. I may have to just turn everything down and start mixing again. But who knows, maybe it will end up like this, because there's sort of a hole right here to let the percussion through. I don't know, it's interesting. But anyways, let's get to the actual sound. So you'll hear I actually used it in a layer on pattern 4, and it is this guy, FM83. And the patch itself actually is not all that complicated. There are two waves going out, two operators. Operator F is a triangle, and operator D, which is a square. And then I'm FMing each one slightly, not all that much. And there's actually no, oh, I guess there are two effects. Never mind, just kidding. But anyways, let's make the patch, because that's always just easier, something similar. So right now we have that. It's this glorious sounding thing. And to get that, we're going to have to change something. So let's go to F. And let's make it a triangle wave. If you want to know what I'm doing, like more technically wise, I have a whole series called FM8 from the ground up. Go check that out. So we have a triangle. We're just going to leave that the way it is. Turn E on and FM it a little. On these sine waves, on the triangle waves and stuff, this is mostly just me looking for something that sounded kind of cool. And when I was creating the patch the first time, because creating it the first time obviously is always a little bit different than showing you how I did it, I was messing a lot around with the that kind of idea, because I knew I wanted some sort of a bass sound that would fill up the low end and kind of be fat and nice. And I normally use Harmor for that. And you'll notice I did end up using Harmor for the sub, and then I ended up just making it a full bass. So, and I could beef that up a lot more, but I was using that as a layer with this. That way I'd have more control over timbres and things. I'd have more options as a composer when I have a whole bunch of things layered together. So that's what I decided to do. So anyways, we have a triangle wave on E and F, and we're FMing it a bit. And so we'll turn D on and send that out. And you get that. Another thing I did before we continue is I turned this down to 0.7. I essentially was just doing this. Just to get more, I was looking for more buzz, and that pretty much does it. So I was like, all right, cool, we got our buzz. And then I sent D out, so I had that at that point. Then we send D out, and it fills in more of that texture, but the sine wave wasn't something I was looking for. So I wound up just scrolling through, and I found the square, and I was like, hey, I like that. And I went to C, and I made C a triangle just because I could. Not really all that much to it. See, we get this break in timbral content because of the way the FMing is working. It actually, I believe, is a bit more complicated than that. Let's do an experiment real fast. So you hear the break right there, and the harmonic structure changes. And I believe that's just because we're FMing a triangle against a square, and there's a certain point where it gets in this middle ground area. That's just a guess, by the way. I'm just guessing. I do not know that for sure. But anyways, I had that, and I said, hey, that sounds pretty close. If I were to distort that a bunch, that'd probably sound pretty cool. So I came over to the effects and was looking for something to distort it. And I tried the coarse and delay because I wanted some sort of I wanted it to sound fat, but I didn't want like the obvious coarse stuff. I just wanted to beef up my sound a bit. So I turned sync on to keep the same texture going, or the same starting point. And the time plays a pretty big factor this time. I don't remember if I know I turned the mod depth up, and I turned the feedback, not the mod depth, the mod rate. And you get that kind of a thing because of the whole LFO. And I left a little bit of the feedback in to get that sort of movement. And the time is super important, as you can see. It just does all sorts of madness to the sound. So this is something like what I had. And then on the overdrive, I had it on very slightly. See, a lot of little movements make big changes with a bass of this nature, but that's essentially what we had. And it doesn't sound all that glorious quite yet. So let's check out the actual patch itself. Not that one. We already talked about that one. And I definitely have chorus settings different. I turned the diffusion up. Oh, that's probably quite a bit. There's quite a bit to do with it. Oh, and I turned the mod depth way down. All right, well, let's do that. A lot of this stuff, as you can see, it's hard to replicate. You just got to go with the flow and do what you like. Well, that's not near as fat as your other sound, and that's because I have it going through post-processing. So let's set up our post line. So right now there is nothing. Let's put on a wave shaper, which is amongst the first things that I do. Actually, I'm not sure if I put an EQ on first or not. Nope, wave shaper, EQ, then reverb. So let's throw a wave shaper on there, and this is just kind of what I go to for distorting. And I turn mine on asymmetrical, and you see my curve looks kind of funky, but the only part that really matters is this part up here, because for me, those were the notes I was touching. So I gave it just a little boost. And then I EQ'd it with a curve. On a bass like this. And then last, probably the most important part, is the reverb. So the reverb, I messed with the settings until I got something I liked, but essentially it's really wet. And that is the bass. You could mess with the size and the amp and stuff, as in how loud. Not the amp, the crossover and the decay and the damp. That's what I meant, to get a reverb that will fit your track better. For mine, it did what I wanted and acted as a layer. And this bass that it's layered with is just straight dry. So this gives it, this is sort of a backbone, gives it more of a solid texture, while the other one's more of an airy texture. And as you can see, we missed one of the most important things. For a bass like this, I like to put it on mono and turn portamento on. And boom, you have the bass. And so that is what that is, and it's right here. Be prepared, it's kind of loud. 3, 2, 1. Let me turn on everything back on. This is one of the few times too that I do not automate something about this bass. It is just a straight bass. These ARP guys are actually just presets from Citrus. I was just going through Citrus and said, oh, I like these presets. So yeah, there's nothing automated, but I do automate the second layer I automate this guy on and off to give it that texture. Because at the beginning, it acts more like a sub. This Harmer patch does. So if you have any questions about this, drop them in the comments. Let me know if you have a sound you're looking for, how to do. I'll give it a shot. Check out my music on composinggloves.com, and have a blessed day.